Alright, today we're going to talk about how you can download a Jenkins build of the Betaflight Configurator at any time. Okay, so today we're going to show how to specifically download Betaflight Configurator 10.5. 10.4 is the stable release configurator right now. So yes, we are grabbing a pre-release copy of the Betaflight Configurator, and there's some new goodies in there that can help us through it. And if we do notice any little glitches or bugs, we're going to go ahead and report that up to the Jenkins website to kind of help out with the project as a whole. First, how do we grab the latest configurator? We just go to Google or your favorite search engine and type in Betaflight Jenkins. And right here you should see in your search results ci.betaflight.tech. So this is the main site for all the Jenkins builds for Betaflight, the configurator, and other maintenance releases, the rescue release edition, so on and so forth. We're going to go ahead down here and hit Betaflight Configurator, and then depending on your OS, you can choose which one you want to download here. Now I have a Windows computer, and you can see there's no Windows executable here, so we can't install it like we're used to with a stable release. However, the Chrome OS copy is still there, so let's go ahead and use that. Going to click the zip file, hit open. So what I recommend doing is making a folder on your C drive somewhere called Betaflight Configurator Beta. And go ahead and put that somewhere that you're not going to change the folder name, so on and so forth. Here you can see I have it already downloaded, so I'm going to go and delete that. Now I had this added into Chrome already, and what I can do is just grab the content from the zip file that I opened and drag it over. What's nice about this approach is that when you go back to get any updates, in a month, a couple months or whatever, you can go ahead and just refresh that, drag it back over. You don't have to add it back into Chrome. When you open up Chrome again, it will just be the new one if you delete what's in there and kind of replace it with the new files. If you do want to see what changes are made from build to build, just go ahead and hit changes here. And then you can browse down through and kind of read some of the comments and see what are the changes the developers are making for certain dates. Okay, so assuming you don't already have the configurator installed into Chrome yet, let's go ahead and run through that. Type in Chrome and you change this to extensions. Then you'd hit load unpacked, browse out to that directory you have made, and simply click the directory and hit OK. I already do have it added, so I don't need to do that here. I'll just hit cancel and you can see it will show up just like this. Okay, so once that's there, you can just change this to apps, and then you can see your app right here. Go ahead and click on it, and voila, we have Betaflight Configurator 10.5. So what's different in Betaflight Configurator 10.5? Let's take a look. So once we get into it, we want to turn on expert mode and go down through. Now I'm not going to go down through each tab because I've kind of seen what's different so far. One of the big things is if you're in GPS, Joshua Bardwell just released a video about GPS. That is here now. So, the configurator is a graphical user interface, so it's just the nicety of it being here for a selection, and then you can go set up all the little variables here instead of going into the CLI. So that's kind of nice. Under the PIDs tab, we now have throttle limit, the two types, which you could set in the CLI as well. Of course, scaled and clipped, and then 100% or whatever percentage you want your throttle limit to be. If you go into the OSD, there's some additional elements you can add to your OSD, it looks like to me. Max G-force, I think that was there before, but flight distance, min-link quality, things of that nature, I don't believe were there before, but I could be wrong, so check that out. And one thing I've really learned to appreciate is this, in the CLI, there's this clear output history, which a lot of times I'll do like a get low pass or get gyro to see the variables, and then I'll want to do a get DYN for the new dynamic variables for dynamic notch, dynamic low pass filters, and it just gets to be a lot on the screen. I used to exit the CLI, but then that reboots the flight controller just to get it cleaned up. Maybe there was a command I could enter here, but I never really knew what it was. But now you can just click this button and then go back and type get DYN, for example, to clear that, clean that up. And then I can go ahead and set my dynamic variables here. Hopefully, I would assume, if this doesn't change too much over the course of use here over the next bunch of months, because Betaflight 4.0 has been postponed for release until, I think, April sometime, these variables will be moved up into the CLI, but it's probably going to be some time. I would think it's going to be after the stable release, maybe in one of the maintenance editions. So it's probably going to be almost summer before some of these variables get into the configurator. They do that intentionally because they just don't want to be wasting a lot of time on the configurator changes when command line variables just could easily change. It's not a big deal to change them. It is when there's MSP connections to them, and it just goes into the configurator. It just gets kind of messy. So that's why the configurator's kind of always slow to update. But then that underlines the point why you may want to go grab the latest version of or the latest nightly build of the configurator at some given time once those are added. You don't have to wait till the next stable release. Back on the splash screen here, there is an update firmware, which really just takes you to the flash firmware page. But do notice if you check both of these on and you hit down here, there is a now maintenance USB rescue. So what that does is it has MSP enabled by default on UART1, so you could hook up a USB connection to UART1, get Betaflight flashed onto a board, and then connect to it. So let me show you what I'm talking about there. So if you ever broke off your USB port, you can flash Betaflight onto a board, I think through an Arduino or other method, but then MSP is not enabled here. Configurator MSP is not enabled on UART, I guess it would be 2 in this board's case. So I'm not sure what how the rescue would, this is for a Mobula 7, so it doesn't have a UART1. But UART1, that rescue mode is enabled again for UART1 and maybe the lowest UART, I'm not sure, so you can give it a shot, or drop a comment. I'm sure one of the developers will chime in here that are in the know. But essentially the intent of that rescue mode is that you can get that flash to a board that you do have a broken off USB connector, and then from that point that would be enabled here on the lowest UART, or UART1 I believe it is, and then you'd be able to connect with the configurator using that UART from that point forward, so you can kind of revitalize that flight controller with that broken USB. Back on the flash page, as always, is the older builds of Betaflight, depending on your board. Some boards have, for the Omnibus OSD, F4 OSD, which has been around forever, you can go back to 3.1.3 if you really wanted to. And under development, you can always have access right here to the latest nightly builds of Betaflight. To see what those contain with the changes one run release to the next, you would just hit load firmware, and then you can see it here. Although you can access it through the configurator, I do like getting it straight from the Jenkins website. So you would basically go back to here, backspace this, go to the Betaflight project, and then go to changes here. And it's just a little easier to see what the latest nightlies are. Of course, with this, you have to be careful. Same thing with the configurator. You're on pre-release software for firmware, flight firmware, and configurator. Between you and me, knock on wood, I've not had any major issues, but you do need to be in the know. Hopefully that's a benefit of following my channel. I'll usually, along the way, let you know what pre-releases I've flown and other test people that are flying pre-release software have flown as well that are, quote, quote, safe. At least we haven't had any issues, so it's probably safe for you to test out as well. I will drop these links below. If you are using the pre-release version of the Betaflight Configurator and you do notice anything weird, do be sure to go to the GitHub site. Like I said, I'll drop the link below here. Go to the issues page, search to see if anybody else had the issue, and if not, go ahead and make a new issue. That's how the firmware gets better. That's how things are boiled up. The more people that use it, the more things that you can see from either it's on a Linux machine or a Windows machine or a Mac machine, different flight controllers, so on and so forth, all boil up different little things that need to get reported back. Of course, the same thing goes for the Betaflight firmware. Here's the issue. I'll drop this link below as well. Here's the issue page. Same deal. All right, everybody. Well, that's Betaflight Configurator 10.5 and how you can download a latest configurator at any time. Thanks again, and I hope this helped.